assessors, which is Ken Howard and Easton, they're forever assigned to the land. So basically, they're construction workers to the land. Basically, how I translate it. So I'm talking cash money. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I'm in court over it. I got a counterclaim over it with Ken Howard. You know what I mean? And actually got the legal paperwork in for it, and I was like, yeah, I know, because I couldn't identify him because I didn't see he had a golf construction, and so I was like, oh, you're forever peasant to the land. Now, if I wasn't mad, I wouldn't have said it like that due to his contract, but I was like, you're my slave. Right. I was like, you're basically like a Hebrew slave on a pyramid. Get back out there and get to work. And I was like, oh, golf. And then that's when I realized who he was. I was like, oh, you're with golf construction. Oh, I know who you are. So then August 22nd, a year later, I go to the government building and pull the deed in the mortgage and get it sealed. And then Jeremy tells me we can't move it to a different court when we're in there. But that I had already went and got golf and golf construction paperwork. You see what I'm saying?
But what was the reason for pulling the deed and all? I mean, what was that?
Because it was golf and it was a citizen dispute, and the citizen dispute was within the citation. And me and Taja had looked that up prior to him being out there because I was already sued. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. In civil court with Ken Howard. So it was just it was knowledge that I already seen, putting it together, then him being out there feeling he can challenge me, and I already seen golf and golf construction citizen dispute. So then they wrote the citation after the fact. And so then when I didn't know that's who it was outside with Nolan, until after we're in the backyard and I got the knife to be like, I see his t-shirt. And I'm like, oh, you're golf. That's when I went inside. Because then I identified him. Anytime prior to that, I didn't know that. So then when I see his shirt, I'm like, oh, I take my butt back in the house. He calls the cops. Right. And then brings up the knife and the whole threatening part of it. But it's self-defense at that time because now the citation falsified saying I live at 1303, but I'm running out of 1313 Farmingdale. And then they take my ID and write down a different address. But then it says it's a citizen dispute. So then Taja had already pulled the information with golf and golf on the side, and it says citizen dispute within it. We already knew that prior to him coming. So then I'm really just defending because I already knew that. So then when a year came, August 22nd, to the citation in the court date where I was supposed to be arraigned, right. The year later, I go pull it after we talked to Jeremy and I asked him to move it because they're all affiliated. And he said, no, you can't move it. So then I just go to the government building where the sheriff's is arresting me, basically, right. And pull the deed to where it says citizens dispute that goes with the citation. Right. To say it's premeditated is what it is. And a year later to say that I have not been arraigned on menacing yet. I don't even know what the charge is, so that's when it's a suspended, that's what I showed you, suspended, however this, whatever, HC, to where I don't even know why I'm being arrested. Right. You see what I'm saying? That's the full gist of it. And being prepared when somebody walks on your property with a right to enjoy the land by paying rent on time, and mom's never been late. And then when I went out there, I asked him, could he get a hold of the property manager, which the sign says her phone number. No. She ain't said nothing in 3 months. Right. So then it's a default.
What makes you think you would have to get a hold of the property manager?
Because Nolan's out there. Nolan was out there originally when I approached him. Right. I said, hey, can you get a property manager? Because I don't know if I have the right to know that they're planning to build at that time. That's the whole part where I'm not sure. But a right to know that we don't have a right to our backyard, to them building, we got no notice to, is all I'm saying with that from the property manager, and why I asked a construction worker with Nolan, and Melanie's nowhere to be found in 3 months, and don't call mom, and then tells me personally that I got an EPO out on her. We'd been in court. You see what I'm saying? Is where I'm like a little confused about that, and the confrontation with him, with the property manager. But I knew off right and representing my parents to go out there and ask for the property manager who we ain't been able to get. And that's what I told Mom. Be prepared to make your own repairs. Because we couldn't get a hold of her. So then she writes, when we asked to get a hold of them, because I couldn't get him, she says they don't want to speak to us. The owners don't want to speak to us about it. The whole thing to me with the citation and being able to subpoena a witness is just getting Melanie to be like, we don't live at 1303. We have a lease. Right. Is when we take it to trial and subpoena her in the story. If the prosecutor did not want to dismiss without prejudice. And so the fact he didn't want to, it's prejudice. Right. And so that's why I said take it to trial, because the worst that can happen is a $250 fine or 90 days in jail. I'll do that. Right. For the counterclaim for the property for my mom to have somewhere to stay and not have to pay rent. Right. Is what I have there and why I'm fighting. To say she has no place to stay and she's doing medical stuff. That's the counterclaim. For us both to have the place to stay and not have to pay, you know what I mean? Ownership.
Now, how would that derive from this situation that you would be able to live somewhere and not have to pay?
That's where I kind of put paperwork in. I would have to show you that as to the counterclaim. The plaintiff will be in front of a commissioner and be examined as to Ken Howard and being a civil prior. And I had that set to when I gave my ID to the citation that the first guy sued me over. Now I have other addresses with a civil case. When I gave my ID to the sheriff's office is why I went and pulled the deed. And you see what I'm saying? A year. So because basically they have me on a misdemeanor indictment in civil. Right. Is why it's taking so long. We don't know nothing. Right. Is what I concluded. They're trying to get me on a menacing misdemeanor indictment to his civil case because it's not closed. Mm-hmm. That's what I keep saying. I'm still in court civilly. Yeah. It's not closed. That's why it's taking so long, because they're trying to hit me with a misdemeanor indictment over the property. Okay. You see what I'm saying? And so that's why the counterclaim comes in for me and Mom's stability and have somewhere to stay and ownership. Is how I set up legally in a counterclaim. So where we shouldn't even be going through this, where you need to place me. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Because I have, so then I said, take it to trial. Mom's already put the bail bond money in. I followed the conditions. Then the next time I get arrested, they changed the conditions saying that I need to follow every court appearance. Then 922 that just got reset for the no seatbelt. They have it stamped saying 927. They say 927, I'm a failure to appear. But Jessica comes in, and they're trying to get me to pay the ticket to plead guilty. If I pay the $25, that's me pleading guilty to a ticket. You see what I'm saying? So, but not when I already got I went and got the file sealed on the ticket.
So, by you paying the $25 says you're
guilty.
Guilty.
Right. But I already sealed the file on the ticket.
So how do you seal it?
Certifying the record and paying for the certification, and they put the seal on it.
And what does that do?
I'm trying to figure out what that really means to the administrative court. I'm not sure what that means in Supreme Court saying it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what that means, but I did it. Okay. So there's a seal on it. That's all that matters to me. You see what I'm saying? I don't know what that means in a higher court if it was appealed. You know? So that's a good question. I'm not sure. But I did that on a ticket. And so then, but the file says September 27th, I'm a failure to appear. Not 9/22 when I went up there on an unofficial docket and there was no court. I wasn't there. It doesn't say I'm a failure to pay a fine 9/22, and it doesn't say I'm a failure to appear 9/22. It says I'm a failure to appear 9/27, and it's sealed. So why would I pay a fine that doesn't say I'm a failure to pay a fine or I'm a failure to appear 9/22, the day of the court date?
So why haven't you yet went up there and found out why it says that?
I can't get nowhere with them clerks. I need the authority. That's why I need to go with you the next available time we get, as the way being reset now and consolidated with the menacing. You see what I'm saying? That's where we are now, but you had all this going on. Now I'm filling you in, so the next time we go up there, that's what we need to do. but I have it sealed. And 922, I'm not a failure to appear to that hearing, and I'm not a failure to pay the fine. So Jessica comes in there not knowing that I'm doing my own case, tells me to pay the fine. I'm not paying no fine to plead guilty. It doesn't say I'm a failure to pay a fine. It doesn't say I'm a failure to appear 922. I don't know why it's stamped 927. I'm a failure to appear. That's what the judge will have to tell us. Now consolidated.
So,
or the clerk.